Hey guys, After here, welcome back. I'm going to do a PvP video on my Esper here. If you saw my engineer video, I do have two level 50s right now. Currently my 50 Esper, who is 1500 rating in RBGs, and my engineer, who is unfortunately nowhere close to it. Once I got my engineer to 1500, I kind of stopped playing him a little bit, not because I gave up on him, but simply because I have more fun with the engineer, to be honest. I got this Esper to level, or I should say rating 1500, simply by healing. Solo Q and healing. As you can see, the 1500 gear is actually pretty sweet. Most of this is the 1500 gear. Obviously, the things that stand out aren't. But that's actually pretty cool, to be honest with you. I still am pretty short on prestige, so I need to grind my way back up to more of it. But I have a decent amount of it. So I have, looks like the helm, shoulders, the chest, I believe the legs as well. So I have the bulk of it. My PvP offense and PvP defense is still pretty good. Because of my healer, I'm not that worried about these stats. Obviously PvP defense is going to help, but mainly I just want a lot of insight so I can have a lot of heals. So before I queue up, let's go ahead and take a look at my build real quick. I think there's a couple different ways to heal as an Esper depending on kind of what you want or maybe where you're healing at. I've seen a lot of Espers heal. Basically, there's two kind of schools of thought. There's the mind over body, which is a direct heal that you have to stand still to do, but it's a very, very big heal, and it heals a lot. Also, once you end up upgrading it, it heals for even more than, obviously, 3,000. And then there's the soothe school of thought, which is a movable heal that can actually, as you can see, hit up to 4 allies. I, obviously, as you can tell here, go with Soothe. Now, this is actually a spec that I used in a arena, so this isn't my actual build. So I'm going to go ahead and do my normal build here. So usually when I am in the RBGs, I go for Soothe and for Mental Boon, okay? This is a very taxing focus build, but I find it to be the best as far as actually healing. Mental Boon, to me, again, there's two schools of thought. So Mental Boon uses your psi points, which you generate from Soothe. Okay, so maybe I'm doing a bad job explaining. Let me kind of start from the beginning here. The Esper has basically psi points is kind of their almost like combo points from WoW Rogues. Okay. So as you do things, you'll be able to get psi points. Obviously, the cap is 5. Once you get 5, you can do, or once you have 1, you can do anything. So Mental Boon, as you can see, bottom right there, 1 psi point does 112 health, so on and so forth. So what it does is it heals you and 4 hurt allies every half second for 6 seconds. So basically, it's a big heal over time. Now, the reason I like this finisher as opposed to what I think usually people will use as far as Reverie is Reverie's great. It heals a lot. It heals 9 party members. But the problem is, if they're already full, it doesn't really do anything, right? Whereas Mental Boon kind of prioritizes people who are hurt, and it keeps going, right? So if you're in a RBG situation and people are taking consistent damage, this is consistently going to heal them, rather than just spamming Reverie and trying to keep them topped off. So think about that. Mending Banner is another one that you can use your full psi points on, but it's a direct heal. It's a big direct heal, but it's still a direct heal nonetheless. Now, I think the Esper has a lot of other kind of support healing here that sometimes I use off and on, but I don't really use very much, simply because they're very kind of situational. Mirage is a great ability. As you can see, it heals almost 10,000 health. The problem is it relies on your team to know what the heck it is. Let me actually show it off to you real quick, and you can kind of see how it's not very easy. So if you're in an RBG, as you can see, there's like fish swimming around. The odds of you or your teammates really saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go get this fish," jump into it and get healed, probably not that high. So unless you're maybe in a group or in a arena, it's usually not that useful. Although I have spec'd into it, and I personally loved it just because it does so much healing. Other than that, you have Pyrokinetic Flame, which is basically it puts a dot on the enemy and then actually heals everybody around him as far as your allies, which is sweet. And then Warden's also a great ability as well, which is kind of a nice, decent heal, and then it also gives an area effect to heal on top of that. But again, they're very kind of situational and for the most part kind of hard to use. So what I use is I use Soothe, which I explained already, Mental Boon. I use Bolster, which is a very weak, but it's a heal over time, and it generates a psi point instantly. So you use that to kind of get your psi points up in a pinch. Phantasmal Armor, which basically makes you glow gold, gives you an Interrupt Armor as well as an Absorb. So it's pretty sweet. Fade Out, which basically once those nasty warriors start focusing me, which they always will, you kind of remove CC and jump backwards. And then you have your beautiful, most important Esper CC, which a lot of people think is the best in the game. You have a knockdown, you have a root, and then you have a incapacitate, which is a disarm, which is absolutely brutal. So with that being said, I am not unfortunately going to do a rated right now, simply because, well, honestly, I don't want to lose my rating. I haven't bought all my stuff yet. So I'm going to queue for that, and then let's take a look at my gear while we're waiting for that. The queue time shouldn't be too bad, 4 minutes. We'll see if that actually takes that long. So one thing I touched on with my engineer that I want to also touch on my Esper is the gear and the runes, okay? All the time in PvP, I'll see people not using runes. I cannot stress enough how important it is to actually rune your gear out. It is extremely important, and even the better gear you have, the more potent the runes become as well. But again, I'm going to try to say that for another video, but I just want to mention on it, guys, just rune your gear out. Even if you have a full set of 1500, I mean, pay the money, just rune it out. It's expensive, yes, but it's well worth it. I'd say if you're a PvPer and you want to get to 1500, just rune out your blue gear, then rune out your epic gear. It's probably going to cost you, depending on what class you are, anywhere from 5 to 10 plat, honestly, for a full set, depending on the state of the economy and what server you're on, but it's worth it. And while we're waiting for that queue, let me show you a little bit about why it costs so much. So, for the most part, runes, depending on which class you, or I should say, which type of rune you want to purchase, you usually have to use these Eldens, right? So, for instance, one of your runes cost a Sign of Fusion Elden. It costs 21 gold just for the Sign of Fusion, right? And then it's also going to cost like a couple majors as well. So I mean, each rune can start to run you. Especially, I'll give you an example on my engineer. The offensive engineer uses water. Water is their main element. So every time I want to do a decent rune, I basically am paying 28 gold minimum just for a Sign of Water Elden, on top of rune fragments, on top of the greater runes. So it can be expensive, but trust me, it adds a lot of stats to your bottom line, especially when we're talking about PvP, especially when we're talking about when this gear, if you look at this, I mean, this thing, as 62 insight, 37 crit, 1500 offense, 1500 defense, let me be honest with you, man, if this was a PvE chess piece, you'd have over probably 100 insight, so just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. I actually have the, let's see here. So this is a kind of a good, decent comparison. So this is a crafted blue piece that has more insight than the epic piece. Now, obviously, the epic piece is epic, right? But it just kind of shows you that if I had a purple piece of PvE gear, it would be significantly more. So you really need to kind of capitalize on those runes as much as possible. And the great thing about the PvP gear is it comes already equipped with what you kind of need. So for instance, the support gear, if I buy that, obviously it's going to be giving me water. So, the Esper support, it's all about water. So it's going to give me mainly water slots, right? So 2 waters there, another water there, there's no water there, which is unfortunate. 2 waters, 2 more waters, and water, another water, another water. You get the idea. So it's pretty lucrative. And it raises your stats significantly. It's expensive, but it'll help you capitalize on what you're trying to do. Let's also look at the amps that I have. I have a pretty straightforward kind of healing spec Esper here. I'm really looking forward to being able to get the extra 10 ability points and the extra 10 healing points, or amp points, I should say, because there's so much that I'm leaving on the table here. But for the most part, I went to get the critical hit chance, which is obviously super important when you're healing. Critical severity, same thing. You know, your basic recovery rate, your support power, that reduces the cost of your spells. I went with Spectral Shield. When you critically hit, they get a absorb. Build Up, which is healing an ally with a builder grants 1 stack of build up. When healing an ally with 3 stacks, you get additional 729 health. Healing Touch, you can read that. Whenever a support finisher is on using an ally below 30%, you heal for additional. Mirage, which I showed earlier, which I'm not using right now, but I do use sometimes. And Companion, which is awesome. When you have 20% chance to summon a Companion, that kind of just acts as a little extra healer there for you. The Mirage ability, you could say Avatar, in PvP this probably isn't that useful. You could probably get rid of it, use your 2 points elsewhere. I mean, the good thing is it only costs 2 points, and sometimes in arenas I will use it, so I think it's worth the 2 points there. Other than that, you gotta get the cooldown reduction, you gotta get the CC resilience. I opted out of a dash regeneration at shield capacity. If I had more points, I'd probably finish that up there, but I mean, it'd be obviously nice to have the extra stuff for extra amp points, but I'm okay with where I'm at. I might make a PvP Esper for offense. I do have a full blue offense set that I could probably just show you what it's all about. For the most part, I personally feel Espers are better at healing than they are at damage. I mean, I can do a lot of damage, but it's very boring, and for the most part, when I do damage, it's more about cleaving, and it's more about just using my CC that I can use as a healer anyway. There seems to be kind of 2 accepted builds for PvP as far as offense, and again, I might cover those in a different video, but I don't find them to be very fun. As far as where I put points here, I put obviously full into Soothe, full into Mental Boon, which is where all of the stuff comes from, all of the healing, and then I go half into Crush 2 just to give the 2 interrupt armor, and it's a longer knockdown as well. I could have gone Incapacitate. Don't really feel it here. Shockwave, I will substitute Restraint for Shockwave if I play in halls and max this out instead of Soothe. I'm sorry, instead of Mental Boon. Simply because this is like a 20 meter knockback then, and that can just push everyone off the points. So that's very important. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and heal up here. I should say. Oh, we got 3 healers. So depending on if our DPS knows what they're doing or not, we're gonna win here. A lot of people are they shrug. I should say they kind of, what's the right word I'm looking here? They don't like having that many healers, but in my experience of being a healer, when you have this many healers, it's actually extremely easy to win as long as your team knows what they're doing. So what I'll do for the most part here, oh, well, I think we should talk about that first. On Moody Masks, if you're new to Moody Masks Temple games, you want to basically make sure you have at least 1 person defending. 1 person can steal if you want, but at least 1 person defending, which we obviously don't have. Also, another very important part is don't let them get the mask. So what's going to happen now, unfortunately, is once they have the mask, because we have 3 healers, the odds are we're not going to have enough damage to actually kill that person. So the strategy our team should be using is we need to spam that mask as fast as possible, because the same goes true for us. If we can get the mask first, the odds are they're not be able to DPS anybody, our tanks down, because obviously we have 3 healers. So as you can see, I mean, this healing is pretty straightforward. I'm just going through healing everyone. As soon as I have 5 side points, I kind of go ahead and this guy's about dead. He's gone. Just kind of go through, heal as much as you can. Freaking spell slingers just always like to. I try to personally spam my support abilities as much as possible, just to just put pressure on it, especially if we're in a pug here. Just use, come on. Just kind of using it as much as possible, just to kind of give your team as much of an edge as they can. Back here. Subdue him. Now, let's talk about Soothe a little bit. As you can tell, it's a charge. So if you charge it all the way, it obviously heals for the most. You can spam it though, And if you spam it, I think it's actually like more healing per second. But the problem becomes then you don't get psi points for it. So you have to at least let it charge to 1 point to get that psi point. So our team's sucking pretty hard here. I think it's probably just a lack of communication, to be honest with you. Or not even communication, say coordination. We have 3 healers, so yeah, I mean, we're out healing the other team significantly. Look at that. Almost, I mean, we're obviously healing them 60% more, so I should say triple. But look at our damage. Our damage is half of what their damage is. So, you know, it's the price you kind of pay sometimes. I still find it more... I'm still able to win as a healer because I'm a healer, have more of an impact, I guess you could say, on the game than I am when I use my engineer as a DPSer. Real quick, I want to touch on the Esper's innate, which is this spectral form, which basically... Get off me. Oh, crap. Which basically just... it roots you, but it gives you an absorb shield, and it basically gets you a bunch of psi points. So you'll generate like a psi point a second, and you're able to kind of cast a lot of heal or damage or whatever you really want. So the odds of us losing this game are pretty high right now, simply because our damage doesn't really know what they're doing. It is what it is. If you play in this map, you absolutely need to focus on the masks. You cannot and should not at any cost be getting off that mask if you're damaged. I have very few skills. I mean, I could auto attack him hypothetically, but I'm kind of busy trying to heal people. So if you're damaged, you really should be focusing around that mask and not letting anybody kind of cap it, which they have been doing. Which is sad, but it's whatever. Alright, well, we got one. Quick tip, every time a Moody Mask, the main Moody Mask, the one that is unearthed, is capped, the next one spawns exactly 1 minute later. So keep that in mind. Let's heal this guy up to full. Yeah, this guy's trying to steal over there. We need to not be in our base right now. Because of it. See, they're about to get it. They're right there. Yep. So, I mean, that's just the way it goes. If I wasn't trying to commentate right now, I'd probably be yelling at my team saying to stack mid, but hey. More often than that, that probably really doesn't do anything, so... It just, you know, is for personal gratification. Makes myself feel better about yelling at people. Alright. Cool thing about Soothe, too, at rank 8, I put heals over time on them, too. Which is nice. So just basically took all of their weapons off, which is epic. See, this is probably something that we shouldn't be doing. We're fighting right in the front of their base, which is bad, first of all, because a Moody Mask is going to spawn in about 30 seconds or so. They just stole Mask, so someone obviously is on defense. And then to top it all off, I mean, their spawn point's right there. So you want to fight right in this middle zone here, is what you want to do. That way, whenever the Mask is spawned, you can jump down, grab it, jump right there and grab it. Here's our Mask, and... basically my team's not here, so I can't do anything about it. I can slow him down, but that's really about it. That guy's picking up that mask, so we got 2 Moody Masks. As you can see, I'm the only person here realizing what's going on. There's not much I can do about it, unfortunately, because I'm a healer. But again, the theory is if we were all stacked top mid there, we could have actually done something prominent or important, and perhaps actually done something of importance, instead of obviously just get destroyed in their base. But hey, what are you gonna do? So let's just look at these stats real quick and see. They had no healing. They probably had 1 healer. They had 1 healer and they still won because honestly our damage was just bad. we didn't really have any damage. Their top damage, their damage wasn't that much better. Overall, obviously they had 9 people that did damage, and we only had 7. But you can see our healing was pretty not that great either. I mean, and in reality we had, oh man, we had like 5 healers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 healers? Yeah, so 5 healers is a little bit too much, okay? 3 healers is one thing, 5, not gonna lie, 5 healers is probably going a little bit overboard. So keep that in mind. But sometimes you queue and you get 5 healers, and then sometimes you queue as your engineer with PvP offense and you get, guess how many healers? 0. So there's your PvP Esper healing for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.